Hi, my name is Joe Flanagan. I'm a university lecturer in English, and in this video I want to tell you about what word embeddings are and how they can be used in the digital humanities. So the motivation for word embeddings comes from the problem about how we can teach a computer the meaning of words. And this isn't an easy task because natural understanding is hard. And the reason why is because knowing a word is not just knowing a particular definition of that word, but it's a whole set of relationships between one word and another. So the idea behind word embeddings is that rather than representing words in terms of characters, we represent them in terms of numbers, since computers are good dealing with numbers. And then each number will represent a particular conceptual feature that goes into the meaning of that word. And this comes from an idea of semantics called distributional similarity that says that words that are similar to one another are going to be used together more often. So if we wanted to understand, let's say, the meaning of the word car, we would look at thousands of examples where the word car appears and then see what its neighbors are. And then over time we'll see that there's a greater probability that car is going to appear with words such as drive and highway than it would be like gorilla. And we can further understand the meaning of the word car by looking to see what kind of words commonly appear with its neighbors. So we can further understand what a car is by seeing which words co-occur with drive, such as sedan, Mercedes, cab, bus, truck, and jeep. And then if we take enough of these examples, let's say, the English-speaking Wikipedia, and then we feed it through a clever algorithm, we can transform each word in our text into a point in a multidimensional space. And within that multidimensional space, words that are similar in meaning are going to be closer within that space. Because the general idea is that we can compare the meaning of words by comparing their values along a particular dimension. And here I just color-coded the dimensions because it's easier to see similarity in terms of color than it is in terms of closeness of very small numbers. So now that we know what word embeddings are, let's quickly look at some examples of how they've been used in the digital humanities. So one area is that researchers have explored is the way that we can trace a shift in the meaning of the words by examining how their embedding space has changed over time. And by embedding space, we just mean the words that are more closely related to them. So here we can see a visualization of the development of the modern meaning of such words as gay, broadcast, and awful since about the 1850s. Another active area of research concerns how we can examine bias and stereotypes that are latent in the text that the word embeddings were trained on. So here what I did is I took the English-speaking Wikipedia and I took a vector for the word brilliant, and then I added the vector for man and subtracted woman in the middle column, and then I added the vector for woman and subtracted the vector for man in the third column to see whether or not brilliant gets used differently with men and women. And while the most common words are the same, we can see that brilliant tends to be used with words involving intellect with men, such as clever and genius, but with words involving appearance with women, such as gorgeous and then beautiful. So let's just briefly conclude with some problems of word embeddings that you should be aware of if you want to use them. The first concerns what do the numbers mean, and I would love to be able to tell you that each of these rectangles represents a conceptual feature in the meaning of a word that is readily comprehensible to human beings. So I could point to a particular rectangle and say this represents motorized vehicles, so we can see how bike differ from these other types of vehicles, or that this represents two-wheel vehicles so that we can see how bike and motorcycle are similar to each other but different from the rest. But the fact is that we don't really know what these numbers represent because they were never really designed with human comprehension in mind. And this just leads to a general question about the accuracy of word embeddings for what people in the digital humanities want to do. These are relatively modern tools, and as such we shouldn't use them uncritically, but we should be aware of their limitations and that should be part of your research as well. So I'd just like to conclude here and thank you for watching the video, and I hope that you understand what word embeddings are, how they've been used in the digital humanities, and some of the issues that you should be concerned about if you want to use them in your own research.